Welcome into Centre Court, thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. Centre Court is where we take a deeper look at the athletes, coaches and voices who define netball in Australia. The conversation unfolds in 4 quarters, giving our guests room to share who they are away from netball, the highs and lows of their career and the future they are building beyond the court. It is honest, it's reflective and it's a side of the game you don't always get to see. Today's guest is a fierce competitor, a natural leader and a player whose impact goes far beyond the court. It is the Mavericks captain, Amy Parmenter. Amy, welcome to the couch.
Oh, thank you for having me. I feel like I invited myself on this.
No, you didn't at all. And I need to clear that up. So Amy messaged in because I want to tell the fans, I say fans, but the listeners. Amy has been tuning into Centre Court. She's been loving the episodes. There's a few that you pointed out that, you know, Emily Maddox has made you cry. And she did reach out just basically saying, loving what you're doing. And I said, great opportunity to say, I would love to get you on. And I have to mention this, and our producer will also say, you were one of the first on the list just with everything that you do outside of being a netballer. We obviously know you as a crazy, amazing, talented netballer, but I think everything that you do off it makes you so special and so important to our league. So we'll get to all of that. There's so much that we need to touch on, but we do start every episode by asking our guests a simple question. Thanks to Priceline Pharmacy, we know health and beauty. What season of life is Amy Parmenter in at the moment?
Oh, I think I feel like I'm in a period of like getting my feet back on the ground, which like, it's been a really nice feeling. I feel like I'm finding myself a bit more again. It's been a really chaotic few years and I feel like I'm like, have like got through it and I'm like feeling a bit more at peace. So yeah, I'm getting there.
This show is about getting deeper and we'll get into the deeper stuff a little bit later, but I have to ask off the back of that, what was the chaos? What were the crazy few years that you've been through, if you're happy to touch on it?
Yeah, well, I moved states, it was in the middle of the CBA chaos to a new team that didn't even exist. It had a name and that was about it. Moved to a new state without having signed a contract, got to this new state. You know, we were slowly putting together this team. We were building a culture and everything basically. I was captain, probably didn't expect to take on that leadership role. And then we had some massive injuries and it's just like, since then I feel like every week it's been like, now this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. And like, and then, yeah, just like some personal stuff that I've had going on. It's like been a real like breakthrough for me and probably wouldn't have had that, which I think we're going to talk about too, but like wouldn't probably have gone down that path if I hadn't been in the middle of this chaos over the last few years. And yeah, I feel like whenever you move somewhere new, I think everyone said, you know, it takes a while to actually feel like this is home. I felt like I was on a bit of a netball camp for the first year. Like I literally felt like I was like going to go home because it was all netball, it was all consuming. And I feel like now I've sort of come out of that. I feel like this is my home. I've got some space. I've got other things going on in Melbourne outside of netball. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot more like myself again. You
seem like a people person. Now, I don't know you too well personally, but obviously have been around you from afar. You seem like a very people, family first person. I know your partner, Chris, is a big influence in your life. Can you talk to me about the relationships that you've got in your personal life that make Amy happy and who you are on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think my husband now, he got married
in December. Sorry, yes,
no, oh my gosh, don't be sorry. I still say partner, I'm like, husband, that makes me sound like old, like five, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we only recently got married, but he made the choice for me to move down to Melbourne so easy because he was ready for an adventure. He wanted to move and he was like, literally as soon as I signed that contract, he was like out the door. He was like, let's go. Like he was really excited and it's made like, you know, I always felt like I've had my best mate next to me in all of this chaos and he's such a, you know, I'm also very chaotic. He's such a like, he's my rock. He's so steady. He's just like, nothing rattles him. He's always like there when I come home and just like happy and chill. So yeah, I wouldn't have got through the last few years without him. And then I've got all my family at home, like my sisters and my brother, my nan, who I'm really close with. And she was one of the reasons it was really hard to leave home. She was like on my list of like, oh, do I want to leave her? But, you know, going back and being at home, I am so grateful for the time I get to spend with them. So, yeah, I've got a really good little support network around me. And then I've got lots of like netty mums in the netball community and big sisters that I've met along the way that have just been such a big part of like, yeah, getting me through turning me into the person that I am. So
moving to Melbourne also meant that you met up with your best mate, Kira Austin, in the same city. You're obviously at different teams, so you're not spending all day, every day at training together, but has that made the move down easier, having Kira in Melbourne as well?
Yeah, it's been perfect actually, and she was there sort of when I was making these decisions. I could tell she was like, yeah, come to Melbourne. Like, so she was a bit biased and really wanted me to come, and it works well because we're in the same state, but we're obviously live very different lives. Vixens and Mavs are sort of on opposite sides of Melbourne, and we live on opposite sides of Melbourne, but we catch up regularly. She's, such an amazing, supportive person in my life, and she'll be my friend forever. I mean, she was my bridesmaid. You know, I just think she's more than a netball friend. So nice to have her here, and made the move a little bit easier.
Let's talk about Amy as a child. It's always nice to get into the brain of you growing up, because we often see people jump onto the scene and we think we know them as a netballer, but there's a life before you become a netballer and a childhood. Can you remember what yours was like and the values that were instilled in you as a child?
I mean, I don't remember too much of what I was like as a kid. I think I was one of 4, like, super sporty. Always, our household was like, always there was something going on. We were moving house. I think I moved house like 15 times in my childhood. Like, there was just always stuff happening. And my mum loved change too. Like, she was always up for something new, an adventurer. And so I think, it was always pretty crazy, but in the best possible way. Sport's always been my outlet and my happy place. I threw myself at everything. Loved, competing, didn't matter what it was, basically. And I loved school. I loved getting stuck into stuff. I was a really passionate kid. Didn't really matter what the passion was, but I loved trying things. And but I don't remember too much other than that, to be honest.
Let's talk about your passion projects though, because the tie-dye project has been around now for
10 years.
10 years, and you do amazing things, not only in netball, but also in the community. Can you tell someone who maybe isn't aware of the tie-dye project, I'm not sure there would be many people, but from your point of view as a founder, where is the tie-dye project at, and where has it come from, and how was it born?
Yeah, the tie-dye project started in 2017. Me and my sisters were just having some fun tie-dyeing in the backyard. It was something that we'd done years and years earlier at a school fete. My mum had run this, all the kids came and tie-dyed and got to take it home, and it was really fun. I think we'd seen it in Byron we were on a holiday in Byron, and we'd seen it, and Mum got all this dye. It was so fun, and it was years and years later, and I'd always had a really strong passion for fundraising. I mean, when we first lost Mum, I, in that time was feeling really hopeless and was looking for a way to make it, do something. And one of the older girls in my netball team, she was like, oh, why don't we do a hair cutting? Why don't we do a fundraiser? And she helped me organise this hair cutting. We were going to cut off all our ponytails. Some of the girls I played with in my Randwick team, they were like, oh, we'll cut our hair, we'll cut our ponytails off. So there were 5 of us that all cut our ponytails off, and I didn't realise, Danielle, who was helping me organise it, she knew Gabby Simpson well. She was a Randwick girl as well, and Gabby and Danielle had organised for 5 of the Diamonds girls to come and cut off our ponytails. I would have been 15 at the time, and I was a netball. I was playing just Saturday netball, and for these Diamonds players to come.
Who were they?
There was Paige was there, Paige, Gabby, Shani and Kim were the 4. And Gabby cut my hair. I loved Gabby Simpson when I was growing up. I was a big Gabby Simpson fan because she was a big defence. She played at Randwick, and she did a shocking job at cutting my hair, terrible. But it was so special, and we raised a bunch of money, and it was I didn't probably realise that, I could help make that much money by doing something like this, and it really made me feel like I was doing something little in a time that was really hard. And I think since then I'd always have had this passion, and so fast forward, we did a bit of tie-dyeing, and everyone started being like, oh, I'll have a tie-dye t-shirt. And it was kind of when tie-dye was getting
cool.
It really had a moment there. And so we ended up going to Target, Big Dye, everywhere we could find a white t-shirt, tie-dyeing it on my dad's brand new deck, which he wasn't super stoked about. There was dye everywhere, but he, I think we raised about $3,000, sold these t-shirts, donated it all to the Cancer Council, and the next November came around and everyone was like, oh, you're going to do it again? And we were like, why not? So very slowly at the start, we were just having some fun doing some tie-dye, and then in 2019, I just got my first contract with the Giants. I went to an appearance out at Westmeads Children's Hospital with Kira Austin and Sophie Garvin. And when we got there, there was this kid there. She was 12. She had this huge cast on her leg. She was in a wheelchair. She lost all her hair. She came over and she was just like smiling, like from ear to ear. I hadn't even played a game with the Giants yet. Like it was my first appearance basically after getting a contract. And I met Molly and she was just so happy to see us. Like I can't even tell you how stoked she was, and she was going through osteosarcoma treatment, like it's treatment that's like for a 12-year-old kid to go through, and to be that happy and that grateful was just like, it blew me away. And I feel like, you know, as netballers, we like do come across a lot of special people, but often you meet them and that's it. And I was like, I have to stay in touch with this kid and this. I met her family and they were just so beautiful. Sorry, Kels.
No one's got me yet.
Really?
I was like, it's going to drip down. Sorry, it's a beautiful story and it's really special.
Oh, it's probably like when I think about like what is like the most important moment in my like career, that moment and that meeting Molly, I hadn't even played yet, and being able to, you know, make a difference to this kid, like, you know, the Diamonds girls had made a difference to me all those years ago. I was just blown away by her family. And I gave Ange my number, like Molly's mum. I was like, oh, we have to stay in touch, like please come to the game. And it was actually we played against you guys in the Magpies Mother's Day game. And I remember that was the first game we got Molly down to. It was the game that all the girls, like I rocked up on Mother's Day. We hadn't won a game yet. It was my first year, and all the girls, when my mum was sick, she had like really orange nails, like fluoro orange, and so it sort of became a thing that I always did. Like when I needed a bit of strength, or anyone in my family, we'd paint our nails orange, and all the girls when I rocked up had one of their nails painted orange. I know, I was feeling so much like I'm the reason we're losing. Like I was like, I'm the reason. Like I hadn't quite found my feet. Like I didn't know, we hadn't won. I was the only change in the team. I was doing the maths. I was like, it's me. And then
it's crazy that that's where your mind goes to, but no one on the outside is thinking that. But internally, that's what you're feeling.
I had so much imposter syndrome, and I remember turning up on Mother's Day. All the girls had orange nails, and I was like, oh my God, I actually do belong here. And I remember we won. Sorry, girls.
Oh, good. Love it. You know what?
I don't even remember the actual game. I just remember that was our first win. And I remember coming back to the change rooms, and they'd got Molly down. Like we'd managed to get Molly down into the change rooms, and it was just like, that was by far the best game the best game I've been a part of. And to have Molly there, it just showed me like that is exactly what it's about. Like there's actually no other reason for me other than like I'm doing this because I can have an impact on these kids that are doing it really tough. And so since then, that's literally from my first ever appearance, I've known my purpose for being a netballer. Like it's been so obvious to me, and I've gone completely off track about the title.
No,
I can bring it back.
No, but just to tie it all in though, and we spend quarter one trying to get in touch with the person's personality and who they are, and I think that speaks volumes and very clearly shows us who you are. Do you think that sense of purpose and that surety really early on has set you up for the rest of your career? Is it a really easy thing to fall, not back on, but to recalibrate and say maybe when teams aren't winning, and you have been a part of teams that haven't been all that successful in seasons, but it's been your approach to it has always been positive because this purpose has sat in the background? Yeah,
I think it's always, you know, so when I first met Molly, she was going through treatment, and then during my netball career, she did like the cancer came back at one point, and I remember her after a game saying, like her family told me that like she'd relapsed, and we didn't want to tell me before a game, and I just remember being like, what? Like netball is so, you know, like that irrelevant. Is so inconsistent. Like this doesn't matter. Like nothing is more important to me than that. And it puts everything into perspective. You know, we're like, oh, preseason's so hard. I'm like, it's not hard. Like what these kids are going through, lots of kids that age in all different ways. Like I just think that age group is so hard, and I'm really passionate about, you know, that 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, and Molly in particular. Yeah, she's like my little sister now. And so fast forward a few years since meeting Molly, I asked if Molly wanted to come on board with the tie-dye project. That's how I ended up there. Sorry, I went really like full circle, but she jumped on board and we went from doing a couple of tie-dye t-shirts in the backyard to doing 1,000 t-shirts that year. The whole of Dubbo, which is like regional New South Wales where Molly's from, got on board, and it just, it became so much bigger than I ever thought it would be. And just Molly's story is so incredible, and she's just, so inspiring. So to have Molly on board and to see where it's going, I met her when she's 12 and she's now 19, living in Sydney. Like, she's been cancer-free for more than 5 years. Like, she's just thriving, and I'm just her biggest fan. And she was the celebrant at my wedding in December. Oh. That's how close we are, and her family. They're just so beautiful. And we've actually just got literally this week, just got funding for a first employee at the tie-dye project, which is so cool. It makes such a big difference for us because we're both so type B, and we need a type A. That's the only criteria for this part-time role, is we need someone that's going to get on top of us and be organised and help us. So it's really exciting. We've got really big goals for the tie-dye project going forwards, but yeah, basically we raise money for sarcoma research projects, and we have these big fundraisers where we tie-dye thousands of products and sell them, and it's a really positive place where it's all about hope and support and building a really positive community. So that's what the tie-dye project's all about.
You talk about the big plans. Say in 10 years' time I'm talking to you, where do you want the tie-dye project to be?
Oh, I would love for the tie-dye project to be, we want to look at how we can go into workshops and get Molly in front of more people. I just think I love speaking in front of people, and I love doing it next to her. I think I could hear her story a million times and it still gets me. She's just incredible. We want to work with, I think we can do so much more in the netball space. We're both so passionate about netball, and I just think it has so much more growth that we can do. And there's just lots of exciting things. We want to keep growing the products. We're going to, do lots of things.
Is there a website? Is there an Instagram?
There
Do you want to look down the barrel and give us a shout out?
The tiedyeproject.com is our website, and our Instagram is the tie-dye project. So
Get on board.
Get on board.
Follow along. I will wrap up this quarter. We have to talk about your charity work in Zimbabwe, and it's crazy to sit here and think that you're how old? 28. 28, not even hit your 30s, and have done so much work around the world, in Australia, for people outside of yourself. Talk to us about the charity space for you, going to Zimbabwe, that experience, and where all of that sits for you. Is that just your calling now? If netball was to finish tomorrow, is that where you see yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's my uncle's charity. It's called the Tag Rugby Development Trust. And I went on my first one when I was in year 8. So I was really young, 13. I went over to India with my mum, and basically the foundation is set up to teach kids to play tag rugby. So we go into schools, teach them, and at the end of the week there's this big tournament from all the different schools, and it's just amazing. And when I went over there when I was that young, it just blew my mind. It really blew my mind. And I've wanted to keep going on them since then. And my uncle's based over in the UK, so he sort of runs the tours out of there. So I went on one in 2023, so that would have been, a couple of years ago. And Kira Austin actually came with me for part of it, and we just had the best time. And, it's just so cool. We went to Zimbabwe. These kids have, never played tag rugby before. They don't have shoes. They play, they're just incredible. They are so athletic. And we did a bit of netball as well. Since Kira was there, she'd just come from the World Cup, and they play a bit of netball there. So we were setting up these netball clinics, and all the girls, and there were some boys as well, but they all come from their family homes. They bring ash from their fires at home. That's how they draw out the netball court. Yeah, and they use tree trunks and to make the hoops. And then they're playing the netball was such high level. It was embarrassing. I was umpiring in this basically in a sweat trying to keep up with these kids. Amazingly, the ball skills are just out of control, and it's so obvious that if they had the resourcing that we have, they would be so much better than us. They would be so much better than us. And it was just so cool. And some of the that was my first trip over to Africa, and that's where he's mainly running the tours out of now in Zimbabwe and Vic Falls. And just some of the takeaways from that experience were huge for me. They'd gathered heaps of netball dresses to give to the girls in the netball tournament part of the day, and it never occurred to me that like they'd never put on a netball dress before. Like I was just like, that's something I've always taken for granted, getting to wear a netball dress. Like that's something you do since you're under 11s.
Yeah.
And they were just losing them. And these netball dresses were like down their, like basically their ankles, and just like so happy and grateful. And, you know, when I was going over, I asked my uncle, I was like, well, you know, what's really important for these girls over there? Do you want me to bring, like, I can collect kit or I can collect shoes? And he was like, no, like for the women, it's like sports bras and like female hygiene products. They're like the two biggest things that stop these women playing netball. And I remember I was with one of the, I think she was from Suncorp, Mimi from Suncorp, and she was like, oh, I'm actually like really good friends with like Pip Edwards. Like, do you want to see if we can get some P Nation? And I was like, sure. I was mentioning to her how I was getting all these like, all the netball girls to bring in their sort of not too old sports bras, and she was like, oh, just call Pip. And so anyway, next minute, 200 P Nation sports bras show up on my front door, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Wow.
I know. And so we went, it was so good. And Kira and I got to hand them out, and it was just so funny that all these girls putting on these sports bras and then they're all doing these ones, like jumping on. But it was just like, you know, stuff like that. And like Kip's been doing this. She's been doing those like undies, like and she's just organised for me to take over 50 of those period undershorts as well, which is just, you know, stuff like that you just take for granted is such a, you know, given here. And I just, yeah, it's just such a cool experience. And I would love to organise some tours from here and, you know, grow out the netball program and even the tag rugby program. It's so awesome. Like, it's such a great game to teach kids. And so, yeah, I think down the track, I would love to. It's just so tricky trying to work out when to do it now. But yeah, I'm really excited. I just think it just opens your eyes to,
I think you'll have a lot of netballers jumping on and saying, I want to come over and be a part of it because it sounds amazing. And also, you're such a positive lesson in perspective. We get so caught up in netball and being the best over here and taking for granted really small things. So it's great to hear you tell stories where, you know, it does blow my mind as well, and I'm sure it blew yours, but being able to experience that, I'm sure you'd have a lot of people jumping on board.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, maybe give me a few years and I'll put a good tour together. It should be fun.
Amy, now let's turn our attention to quarter two, where we dive headfirst into your netball journey thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. There's pre-SSN, and we could touch on that, but I think we'd be here for a while. So let's start at the Diamonds. You've mentioned that you got your first contract with the Diamonds. Wasn't probably the year that you wanted it to start in your first season, but your time at the Giants was up and down. It feels like it's where you grew as a player. You became one of the most formidable wing defences in our league, but also now we see you at the Mavs. How do you reflect on your time at the Giants and what it taught you under the likes of Julie Fitzgerald alongside a Jamie Lee Price? You've also had Joe Harton to learn leadership off. In your words, what does the Giants mean to you?
Yeah, like I loved my time at the Giants. I first came into the Giants as a training partner, and I was training with like so many of my idols. I just couldn't believe I got to show up and train with them, like Serena Guthrie and Jamie Lee Price and, you know, April Brandley and Sam Pullen and Beck Bullock. There was just so many huge names in that like inaugural Giants team, and I was so stoked to be there. And I remember when I was making the decision, I had a call from Julie being like, oh, you want to come to the Giants? And Rob Wright at the time to be like, do you want to come and be a training partner for the Swifts? And Rob said to me, like, you know, there might be opportunities, like, you know, you might get to come in. And Julie said to me, like, you know what, you're going to be a training partner and I'm going to look after my 10, but once you're in my 10, I'll look after you. She was like, that's how it works. She wasn't promising me anything. She was like, you get to come and learn again, like from the best. Like, and I really liked that approach, and I liked that she was, you know, backing in her 10, and she really thought that they could do so much. But then also she was like excited for me to be a part of that one day. And yeah, I was so happy to be in that team. And that first year as a training partner, it was awesome. The second year I was like, I want to be in this team. Like, I want to play. How do I do this? And that year I put everything into it. I remember like, I was like, if I don't get a contract at the end of this year, maybe I'll go play overseas, maybe, you know, and I was like, I just wanted to make sure I was giving it everything. And I went down to part-time uni. Like I was going to bed really early. I wasn't drinking. Like I was doing all this stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to give it everything. And I got to the end of that year, I was absolutely exhausted. Like I was completely burnt out from trying too hard, but Julie did give me a call and she was like, you know, do you want to be in this team? And I was like beside myself. I was so excited. But I was also like, wow, that way I've lived this year is so unsustainable. Like, I can't keep doing that. So it was really interesting because I sort of went into this team and I was sort of balancing that, like, how do I stay true to myself? How do I keep filling up my cup in all these ways? And then also, like, becoming an elite netballer is, honest, if I'm being honest, something I never thought I would get to do. I never saw myself being an elite netballer. So yeah, sort of managing this imposter syndrome as well for a while was huge. But it was just so awesome to, you know, to play with Kim Green and Prats and just massive names. And that first year, you know, I feel like most people in Super Netball, they like get a contract and then they get a few minutes here and that was just like not my experience. They were like, all right, you're on.
You're in.
And I think that's part of being like a specialist wing defence is like you're sort of either on or you're out.
Yeah.
Like there's no bench time for a specialist wing defence because
True.
you're not sort of valuable as a benchy because you can't fill in anywhere. You've got to go on at wing defence.
Yeah.
So that was, scary. I remember my debut, I was like so nervous. I don't think I touched the ball. I genuinely didn't touch the ball in the first half of the game. Like I was like, please don't pass it to me. Please don't pass it to me. And then since then, I think it's just been a real learning curve. Getting to play with Jamie Lee for so long was awesome. And I think, I really, really love my time at the Giants and so grateful that Julie gave me that opportunity and saw something in me to play.
You've got a very clear style of play now, and when we watch Amy Parmenter play, we know what we're going to get. It's the first ball contest, it's the work rate, it's the effort, it's the attacking game down the court. Were you always sure of what your game style was going to be, or has that come with time and now you're just really clear on who you are, especially when you're saying that the first time you're on the court, don't throw me the ball, but you're really sure of who you are as a player now?
Yeah, I think when I came through like my juniors, I was a goalkeeper, and so I think I thought that like I didn't want to be a wing defence for a really long time. Like I was like, I really want to be a goalkeeper. It's so fun, you get all the intercepts and stuff. But when I did eventually like admit that I had to be a wing defence, I think I took a lot of that goalkeeper stuff into my wing defence. So I loved coming off for a hunt. Like I loved, you know, sort of that back and up movement, and I was really comfortable in that stuff. And I think then over, like, as my career's progressed, I've got a lot of the, like, you can't always do that. You also have to shut down your player, and it's constantly, like, finding this balance between coming off and having a hunt and flying and also, like, shutting down. And so I think, like, at the start of my career, it was all coming off, having a fly, all that sort of, like, just go for it. And then I think it was also, like, no, now you actually need to, because I think as a wing defence, you can get 5 intercepts but do a terrible job. Like, you can get 5 intercepts and then, like, your wing attack is running rings around you for the rest of the time. Or you can have a great game and, like,
get no
get
stats.
0. Yeah, exactly.
But be the best player on the court. Yeah, I agree.
So that was a real learning curve for me, like, throughout the years, especially, like, if you've got a goalkeeper behind you who's coming out for speckies, you don't need to be going for you just need to be shutting down or promoting the pockets. Like it really depends who you're playing with as well. But I think that's something that I've constantly been juggling with throughout my career is, am I shutting down? Am I flying? And I've got license to go for it. And especially since moving to the Mavs, I think Richo's really helped me with that, like finding that balance. And yeah, I think now that we've been doing it for a few years, I'm really comfy in that, so yeah.
You talk about amazing players that you lined up with at the Giants, but was there anyone that you modelled your game off? Is there anyone that you looked up to across your time and you sort of thought, oh, I want to pick that part of their game?
Oh, interesting question. And like I looked up to Gabby Simpson so much, but when she'd come back to Sydney sometimes at Christmas, like Danielle, our sort of mutual friend, would organise some running sessions and like she would smash me on the sprints, like absolutely destroy me on the 10 metres, and then I'd get her on like the 100 metres, and I was like, oh my God, I'm nothing like, we are such different athletes. Like,
yes.
And so it was really hard because like, my idol was like, I'm never going to be able to be like that. Like how Gabby played, I loved, but like that is not me. And I remember there was one point where at Giants, I was playing a bit of centre and wing attack, which was like, especially wing attack, super outside my comfort zone. And I remember I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And Kim Green, I kept asking Kim Green all these questions. I was like, Kim, like, how do I do this? Like, what should I do here? And she was like, stop. And I was like, what? She was like, you are not me. Like, you are never going to be me. And I was like, oh God. And she was like, you are you. Like, you need to use your strengths. Like, you need to find out what works for you in whatever position. And it was a really good wake-up call for me to be like, actually, you need to stop comparing yourself to all the other wing defences or players or whatever, and like work out what your strengths are in any of those positions. So yeah, I don't know. I've always loved how Ash Braz plays, and Gabby. Like, they were probably my two, idols when I was coming through the pathway. But I don't know if I'm like super similar to either of those. So yeah, I wish.
You're Amy. Let's move on to the Mavs, though. You obviously had a great time at the Giants, but you've alluded to the fact that big move to move down to Melbourne. Again, an inaugural team, and you're the captain. There's so many challenges that come with that I think people forget. You don't know what the uniform looks like. You don't know where you're training. You don't know what your team's going to look like. You don't know what your standards are going to be. And that is something that takes time to build. It can't just happen within 5 weeks, and sometimes you're under time constraints. But what was it that drew you to the Mavericks? We've heard so much about their catchphrase, which is trailblazers in the netball space, and they want to be out of the box and they want to do things differently, and netball to look a little bit different to the traditional way. Is that what drew you to the Mavericks and the selling point?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. I think I was ready for a challenge. I think a lot of people were shocked that I was moving. I was getting a lot of court time, really happy at home, like in Sydney. But I was ready for something different. Chris was as well. He was I could tell he was ready. My siblings were all going on these amazing adventures, and I was like, oh, I just want to do something. But I also, I had a few difficult years in the Diamonds. I was thinking I was getting a lot of feedback around probably not being a leader. I wasn't being enough. I've got that a lot, especially on court. I'm not leading out there. And also, that I wasn't across the structures. We had obviously Julie and Jenny O'Keefe, but we didn't have a defensive specialist coach. And I'd relied a lot on Sam Pullman and April Brownlee to sort of be the coaches around me. And I learned so much from both of them for many years. And both of them were stepping away from the Giants that year. And I was a bit selfishly, I was who am I going to learn from? And so I was I was probably eager for some learning. I wanted to keep learning. I wanted to keep growing my game. And yeah, I think I remember I was actually away in Zimbabwe, and that's when all the stuff was happening, CPAs and all these phone calls. And I got on a call with Tracy Neville, and she was just really exciting. She was this mad English woman. My mum was a mad English woman. I was this is my comfort. I can do this. I loved her energy. And then I spoke to Shay, and Shay's one of those people that I was I feel I was always meant to meet her. Straight away I was she just speaks my language. I love what she was about. I saw her vision. I was I feel I'm going to ride and die for this, her vision. And yeah, it was I'm a real I always see signs, I'm a real sign. And when I was over there, I just saw so many signs being I should go. I was going to the airport to fly home, and I was oh my God, I'm in Victoria Falls. I think the world is telling me I need to move to Victoria. But it was a challenging time because I hadn't even made a decision yet. And there was a lot of media stuff going around being I'm moving, and I was training for Diamonds at that time. When I was over in Victoria, in Zimbabwe, I'd got a email about, it was just after the World Cup, and I got an email saying I wasn't in the Constellation Cup. I was in one of the series, not the others, and I was a bit gutted about that. And I remember I woke up one morning, I had so many phone calls from my wellbeing leads and all my family, and they were all so stressed, and I was oh my God, what have I missed? And I didn't realise that they'd all found out about me not making the Con Cup, but I'd been asleep for 9 hours and they'd been stressing all day. And I woke up and I was so gutted, but I actually think that wasn't an accident, that sort of reality check, Ash Braz is retired now, he's still not in. It was a real maybe you do need to make a change now and really get out of my comfort zone if I want to be considered in this Diamonds mix. So that sort of happened, and then I flew home, and I was still training for the other series at Giants, trying to make this decision, and it was really awkward. I told them, no, I'm probably going to leave, and I still like to train at Giants, which was really awkward. I remember when I'd made my decision, I called Joe and Jamie, and I called Joe first, and I was so impressed by her response in that moment. I was really nervous to tell her, and I was sad to be leaving the girls, and she was I moved across the world for an adventure, a netball adventure. I don't blame you for wanting to get out, and so it really meant a lot to me that she could see the bigger picture. And then I called Jamie Lee. She did not understand. She didn't speak to me for a week. She She was so, and I knew it came from a place of hurt, but she was just so upset with me, couldn't believe I'd leave her. And to be honest, it was one of the biggest cons about leaving is that I loved playing with Jamie Lee. Like, what a privilege to get to play with. Jay's like a once in a generation player, and to not have her was going to be like really outside my comfort zone, to be honest. Like, I think Jay makes the people around her look good, and that was scary to not be playing with her, but so funny, especially the irony of it now that she's back playing out the Mavs. Like,
the time you didn't talk to me for a week.
Yeah,
you can return the
we
favour
joke about it now. We joke about it now, but yeah, it was really big challenge. But once I like made that decision, like so many people had something to say, or like, and I just like realised. Everyone was like, oh, are you sure it's going to be good? And I was like, I think the grass is just greener where you water it. I was like, I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go grow. Probably didn't anticipate how hard it would be. Like, I'd seen the Giants start up their inaugural club. I was a training partner, and I was like, I don't remember it being that hard. But then like when I got thrown into this, it was really, really hard. But, you know, I feel like I've learnt so much, and I look back on it now, I'm just like proud of what we've created and the work that we put in to get here.
I'm probably happy now knowing that it's all worked out and everything's feeling really good and you guys are playing really well and the journey's been a ride, but probably grateful for it as well. I do have to ask you though, with where the Mavs are sitting at the moment, and there were some sceptical people, and I'll be honest, at the start of the season I thought, wow, is this team going to change with the changes that they've made? But how you've come on in this middle part of the season, you're really learning. Where do you think you guys sit, and how much further do you think the Mavs have to grow? You're in the inner sanctum. We sit here and have opinions, but yeah, from the captain of the club, how far do you think Mavs can go this season?
Oh, I think that there is like every game we're like learning, and we're genuinely like, you know, taking those learnings into the next week. And Jez, our coach, that's what he says. He's like, I don't care about wins or losses. We just got to keep getting better and better. And we are a super new team. Like 50% of our team is different this year. So there's still so much connection stuff that is going to keep getting better. I think defensively, though, we've got Jessie, Kim and I have been together for quite a few years now. Like, me and Kim have been in the team since the start, and Jessie's been a training partner since day dot as well. So we're all across the structures. And then Jay, because she works with Richo so closely at Diamonds for so many years, she's sort of slotted into that like style of play very easily, and it really suits her as well. So defensively, I think it's like nice because we're not at square one. We've been like building, this has been building for a long time. And the thing about the way that we're playing at the moment is like that fly and feel, and it's very much like you need to all be on the same page. And so there were times over the last few years that, you know, if you go for a fly and the person is not behind you, you look like a fool. And so it's been like a real challenge to keep like believing in this style of coaching. So to see that it's finally like coming and we're really like gelling in that way, so good. And I love it. Like, I just think like this is the sort of defense I want to be playing. Like, I love what Richo, when her vision comes to light, you're like, oh, that's what she's been talking about for like so long. Like, yeah, it's just you need to like fully commit to that style of play. So yeah, it's been really cool. I think our attack end is just, you know, obviously with Molly coming out and bringing Maddie in last minute. Like, Maddie Hay had a 10-week preseason and she's like dominating. I'm like, I think we should all just have 10-week preseason. She's like the perfect case study.
Get that in the CBA.
Please, like she's just doing so well. And, you know, it's so nice to have like Jay and Maddie back together. Like, I'm just like, I go home from games at the moment, I'm like, oh, it's just so nice to have the gang back together again. Like, I've always like thought Maddie Hay is amazing. Like, she's awesome, and to have her back. As soon as Molly told me she's pregnant, I was like, we need to get Maddie Hay. Like, I knew. I was like, you know, I think she's just, the way Maddie's career ended last year, it didn't sit right with me at all. And I was just like, how can they be making this decision? And so when this happened, I was like, oh, it all makes sense. Like, this is why she didn't get a contract with the Giants, because we needed her. And yeah, she's just slotted in so well. And I just think Rue is going to be so good. Like, she's just getting better and better. Like, Unique and Shim are amazing. So there's so much growth in there. And I think if we can just keep putting the work, and a big part of that is belief. I think if we can keep believing in what we can do, I think there's really exciting times ahead.
It's really exciting to watch, let me tell you. And Richo is an unbelievable coach. And I think the players that she's got really work to the structure that she wants to put out there. So it's exciting to see people that can actually deliver it, play for her.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Diamonds though. Wrap up your netball journey with the Diamonds. Now, you touched on it before. It's been a tough few years. It is so hard to be in, to be out, to be in. We're now in a Commonwealth Games year. You've been putting unbelievable performances together, but you also know that at the end of this, well, soon, there'll be conversations around whether you're in, whether you're out. How do you feel when it comes to this time? Is there an anxiety with it, or have you sort of learnt to grow with that, knowing that that's been your lot in the Diamonds?
I've had a rough few years with the Diamonds. I mean, when I first had my debut, it was amazing. But again, because I'm a specialist wing defence, I sort of went from, I'd never even been on the back bench, let alone on the bench. So I went from like not even being into like straight on the court, thrown into it. I think in that first year I played 6 games, like out of the 7 games across the 2 series, I played 6 of the 7. And that was in 2021, I think. And now it's 2026 and I've played 6 more games since then. That first year was awesome. And then it's just really hard. It's really hard to be in that mix. There's amazing players and I know that. Like it's almost the hardest part of it is like, it's not like I'm saying I should be there, they're the best in the world, and I'm like training against someone like, you guys are amazing. Like it's a tricky spot to be in, and I know that, and I think my mindset recently has shifted from like, I'm just Diamonds is a bonus and it's a privilege to be in it, and I think I am a better netballer because I've got to train in that squad and be a part of that, and yeah, I'll take the opportunities as they come, but I also understand that like, the wing defence position is Jamie Lee, and I'm like, I also want her to do really well. And so, I'll put my head down and take the opportunities when they come. But yeah, it's been, I think I would say my Diamonds experience has probably been the most challenging thing in my netball career, and probably the most tears I've had. I think I've had more than 12 non-selection calls now. And, I'd probably, if I'd known about how hard it was going to be, I think I would have, I think I'm surprised that I can keep getting up for it, and you keep finding the passion and the love and, the resilience. I didn't know I had that much resilience in me, to be honest, to keep showing up and get those, some of those calls, you've been away for weeks, you're in the middle of a series, you're sharing a room, you don't have your support network, and I just remember there was like some training sessions and I was like, I'll just be proud of myself if I can get through this session without crying. Like, it has just made me like so much, like, you just don't think you're capable of getting through that. And yeah, I think I have to be grateful for that, even though it's been really there's been some really, really tough days in that space. This is the part that I'm crying in, really.
No, but like it's not, I think when we talk about playing for your country, we have those dreams from being a little girl, and you've mentioned being a netball fan for your whole life, and when the Diamonds came and cut your hair, it's just been such a dream, and when it's not the journey you envision it to be, and not through any fault of your own or the Diamonds, it's just the era that you're in and the players that are around. And I think preparing yourself for any rejection is so hard, and fronting up time and time again. I think sometimes we sit there and we go, oh, it's just a netball team, but it's not. It's your whole livelihood, and it's something that you dream about for your whole life. So no one will ever take away that you are diamond number
185.
We've had people come on here and not know their number, and you're like, I know, I am diamond number 185. No one will ever take that away from you, and no one will ever take the experience that you had debuting for your country. I hope there's plenty more Amy Parmenter Diamond games, and I just think you're a formidable player in what you do and how you lead now, if that's been some of the feedback that you've got. So I do just want to touch on that though, through all of the hard rejections, and I always want to talk to the listener when we're having these conversations. People go through rejection all the time. What would you say to someone who is maybe fronting up for a netball team and worried about the rejection side of things? How did you keep showing up for yourself and for the Diamonds 12 rejection calls later?
Our well-being, like sort of culture, her name's Helen. She lives in Spain. It's a whole thing, but she's like I would not have gotten through all these tough Diamonds experiences without her. And I think one of the biggest things she's worked with me on is like, you have to be able to get stuff out of it that's not just reliant on things that you can't control. So I always go in and I'm really clear on what I want to get out of it. And I think the other part of that is like, one of my favourite quotes when I'm in this space is like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I think that that's so important to me. I think it's like how you show up as a person is so much more important than the medals that you win or, you know, the achievements that you have or the intercepts that you get. It's actually like how you do it as a person. And I always put that first. Like that's the most important thing. Like I want to be a good teammate. I want to be a good person, having the environment. And yeah, I think that keeps me going.
Well, I hope, you know, when this airs, it's been positive phone calls for you and everything like that. I love listening to you talk about your netball journey. You're so grounded in everything that you've done and you've been through a lot. It hasn't all been easy sailing. It's not Amy Parmenter who fronts up as the captain for the Mavs and just plays every game. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's been a pleasure to sit down and hear about your journey from you.
Oh, thanks, Kels.
So before we get a little bit deeper, Amy, let's add some sugar thanks to Strutties. Gear up this season with Strutties. Shop with Strutties because they're your buddies. Strutties.com.au. Okay, quick fire here. Let's start with one player, past or present, you'd love to play with.
Oh, I think I've got to say Laura Langman.
Oh.
I played one bushfire game with her. Like, I was a last-minute ring-in, and I was like, this is so cool, but I feel like I didn't really get to appreciate it. I think it would have been awesome to play with her.
It is, let me tell you. Most underrated teammate you've ever had?
I've got to say Maddie Hay. She's so underrated and awesome player.
Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I love the quote, phone, wallet, keys. Someone told me that, and I leave the house, every time I leave the house, I'm like, phone, wallet, keys. That reminds me to bring them.
That'll get into quarter three when we talk about that. Favourite moment of your career so far? It could be netball or otherwise related.
Oh, favourite moment. I think the Mavs win in the Sunny Coast was huge. That was a huge
You're the
moment.
third person to say that.
Yeah, that was, well, there was just so much hard work and a lot of pressure on that win, and to win by one was huge. So yeah.
Did it feel like a grand final?
It felt like it felt like a weight just came off. Like immediately, I was like, okay, we can win. This club will have a win.
And we've done it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna win.
And lastly, if you could relive one game, which one would it be and why? We have a few different approaches to this.
Okay.
It could be like, I think Ravi said she'd love to play her 100th again because they got pumped and she'd just love to relive it and change the result.
Okay.
Or other people like, oh, I'd love to relive the premiership that I won.
Oh, haven't won one of those yet, so can't say that.
You can say yet, asterisk.
We had a really great game during one of the hubs against, I think it was a semi-final against Fever, and I think that was one of the best wins I've been a part of. And I just remember Sam Pullman had an absolute blinder on Janelle, and it was I think it was one of her last, she was retiring, and I just remember being like, oh my goodness, that was so good. So yeah, maybe that game, that was a good day.
Legacy game for Sam Pullman. I remember that game. I think I was watching it on TV. I remember being like, wow, that's a performance.
Yeah.
In one of your last too. Now we have had our sugar. Let's get into the more personal conversations. Amy, I don't want to say I'm excited to dive into this one, but it's a topic that we haven't spoken about yet. And I'm really proud of you for wanting to come on and talk about this, because I think it is so topical at the moment. We're finding so many people that are being diagnosed with ADHD. You've recently been diagnosed with ADHD. Can you take us through the journey, maybe getting to the point, and speaking about the chaos that you've gone through, getting to the point of saying, maybe I need to go to the doctors and see what's going on?
Yeah, I think I've known for a while that I've been working with a sports psych for a long time, long time. She's amazing. And she's always one-off comments been oh, you know, neurodivergent people often experience it. She'll suddenly put it into the conversation for a long time. And I think, you know, my whole career I've struggled with high performance behaviours. That's a trigger word for me. And it's let me down since I was so young. I remember being late to trainings and forgetting my stuff, and throughout my whole career, and whether that was at reps or you know, when I was trialling for the 21s World Youth Cup, all my feedback was about my off-court behaviour, and then yeah, it's just let me down so much, and it's caused so much stress. And I think I've always just been so hard on myself and just thought oh, that's why can't I do this? Why do I have to be reminded about the daily monitoring is my arch enemy for so long. And there was a point when I was at NSWIS that you know, if you don't do your AMS, everyone has to do all these burpees. And I just remember so often everyone was oh, we got to do burpees again because Amy's got an AMS. And I was feeling I was letting everyone down. I was why can't I do this? And you know, I think for so long I just didn't have an answer. And then, you know, even recently, like when I go into Diamonds camps, I feel like for so many of the girls that are going in, they're like, oh, I'm nervous about the training. I'm nervous about like how hard it's going to be. And I'm like, I'm nervous about, you know, changing locations every few days, like remembering everything for training, like getting to all the different appointments on time, like schedule change. Like that's what stressed me out, which is like, it's so, you know, it's so funny now looking back at it. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like now I know so much. But like at the time I was like, why doesn't this stress everyone else out? Like I've got this stupid list before I leave my little AIS door, being like, have I got my socks? Have I got my shoes? Have I got my, which is like, I'm not 11, but you know, it's stuff like that that has been really like challenging for me for a long time. And it wasn't until I moved to Melbourne, I probably lost a bit of my like footing, my routine, like my like people around me that was probably sort of like helping me with the stuff, like covering me a bit. And I also hadn't had a leadership position as well before. And I think with that leadership position comes so much more opportunity to let people down, which is like, you know, it's such a privilege, but it's also like, I hate that feeling and I feel like it was constant. And I feel like I would be going into game days like more nervous about like remembering to do everything and like, you know, saying the right things and all this stuff. And I'm not an anxious person, but I felt like my anxiety was getting higher and higher and I was getting really stressed. And I was like, at the same time, learning a bit more about ADHD. My sister had been diagnosed like a few years earlier and we're quite similar. And so she's been in the back of my mind being like, you probably, you know, like they say that if your sibling has it, you're 50% more like likely to have it. And yeah, and so I think I got to a place where I was like, all right, like let's actually look into this. I want to learn a bit more about it. And suddenly like all these things started, like I was like, oh, that is me. That is also really me. And I was like learning so much about my brain. I was learning all these strategies that were helping. Like there was just so much that I was like, I wish 15-year-old me had some of this coping mechanisms. And yeah, like when I look back on it, I'm like, there are so many times that my life would have been so much easier. Like I think one of the like real breaking points of when I think about like, there was a Diamonds game where we were playing the Gold Coast and I got to the game. It was about a 40-minute drive and I got to the game and I realised I didn't have my shoes. I'd forgotten my netball shoes to a Diamonds game and I was mortified. Like I was beside myself. I was starting in that game. I had to warm up in my runners, like not in my netball shoes. Like, and I was just like so upset with myself. And like, you know, Stacey and everyone there was so supportive and like, I remember poor Steph Wood had to drive back to the Gold Coast, come back. She was throwing them over the fence before the game started. Like it was just chaos. But like little moments like that I'm like, you know, that was actually my brain, you know, like that I could have had so much more support around this. So going through this diagnosis, I mean, it's taken me a long time. For like the ADHD diagnosis to have so much admin is just like so ironic. It takes a really long time for people with that much admin. But yeah, so I like last year was like officially diagnosed, started medication, blew my mind. It has just like, it has allowed me to be so much kinder to myself because I now realise like, you know, it's really fun. I had this conversation with Kim Brown a couple of months ago being like, because Kim's so type A, she's so early to everything. She's so on time, she's amazing. But I was trying to explain to her like what it's like for her leaving the house versus what it's like for me leaving the house. And I was like, because when you go on this medication, especially the first few weeks, it's like you've got a neurotypical brain, like it's amazing. And like I would wake up in the morning or like I'd pack my bag the night before, wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, eat my breakfast and walk out the door. Like that's what her experience is like. For someone that has ADHD and like obviously everyone's experience is really different, but for me I wake up in the morning and then I like notice that something's going on on the bathroom floor and then I'm brushing my teeth and then I'm like, you know, got to quickly fix this and I'm getting so distracted and there's so many things going on and then I like have so much time blindness that I realize I've left 20 minutes later and it's just like that is what it's like inside it, well at least in my ADHD brain, and to be able to see the other side I was like, oh my God, it's so much easier for you. It is so much easier for you to be on time. So yeah, it's completely changed my life and I wish there was more out there when I was coming through the pathway. I wish there was more support in the pathway. You know, we're so quick to be like, oh, your upper body strength isn't good enough. Let's do some upper body weights. But like everyone was saying to me, your high performance behaviors aren't good enough, but like no one was helping me with that. Like it's not something that like you can train that and you can make it better. And I feel so strongly now about, you know, when I see like girls coming through the pathway, some of the younger girls who are like going through diagnosis or just have ADHD, I'm like, I can help you. Like I know like what you're going through, and like, you know, it's also changed my perspective on like how we drive standards at the Mavs. Like I think it's like, it should be led with empathy and support, and it's like, how can we help you? Like you're clearly not meeting the standards on purpose.
Yes.
It's like, how can we help you to meet these standards? What can be like helpful for someone with a brain like yours as opposed to a neurotypical brain? So that was a really long-winded answer to my experience over the last few years. But yeah, it's just been amazing. I think if anyone feels like, oh, maybe this is something that I have or I like want to know more about, find out more, because like if it is, it can be such a game changer.
Well, I don't really have any more questions because I feel like the way that you worded that and you explained it, it's so great to hear you talk about it, and also almost painful to listen to how much you had to struggle before you sort of were able to get the help. If you were to say to anyone who's been wondering about ADHD, would it be speaking to a psych, going to a doctor, maybe looking into it? What would you say? Obviously yours was, I was made aware of it by being scolded for not having high performance behaviours, but for some people it might not present like that. What would you say?
Oh, I'd say firstly, like, you know, there's a stigma around, I know there's a stigma around it, and there's also this commentary that like everyone has ADHD, but like that never bothered me. It didn't bother me because I was like, this is going to make my life so much better, you know? And I think if you know in your heart this could help you, like screw what anyone else says, you know? Like if this is going to make you the best version of you, go and find out how to do that. And it is a little bit complicated. Like you obviously see your psych, and then you have to get clinically diagnosed by a psychiatrist. So there is a few steps to it, but it's worth it. Even though it's a lot of pain for someone with ADHD to go through all of this, like once you get to the outside, you just like, it's so validating just to get the diagnosis and to understand that like your brain's different. And I think just like persevere because it's worth it.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Amy. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that relate and maybe will take some steps to end up where you have, and it's great to hear you talking about something that is really important. So we've come to the end of the podcast now. This has been an amazing discussion, but this is the part we love. It's the legacy piece, and it's a chance to reflect and look back. So we do start this one thanks to HCF. What is your HCF moment that matters?
Oh, I've got to say meeting Molly at that first appearance. I mean, I feel like I've told the story, but it just has fully defined, you know, who I am and why I do what I do. And yeah, I can't think of a more important moment. And the fact that it happened right at the start of my career, it's fully shaped, yeah, all that I've done since then.
Amy, it's been a privilege to sit down and talk to you. You are one of the most special people I think we have in the SSN, just for what you do outside of netball, but for also what you do on it, all of the challenges that you've been through. It's nice to get to know you now, but I know your story is far from fully written. There's so much left for you to do. At 28 years of age, I feel like we're going to be talking about you for the next 10 years. So thank you so much for coming on to Centre Court. It's been a privilege.
Thank you for having me.
This has been Centre Court thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in Northern Victoria.